And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Farm Kitchen here at Cross Timbers Farm and 8th Day Chronicles YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making soap. We're going to do a very basic soap recipe. Simply 3 pounds of a good quality vegetable shortening, 1 cup of our frozen Oberhasli goat milk. We'll be using 6 ounces of sodium hydroxide lye. And for our scent today, we're going to do a lemongrass-ginger. Okay, so we have some safety equipment. We have plastic gloves, goggles, and a mask for dissolving the lye. And then we'll be using a stick blender to do our mixing. First thing we're going to do is get our fat melting. We will get our sodium hydroxide and goat's milk mixed up. We do have our goat's milk frozen and in an ice bath to slow down the heat up process because we don't want it to caramelize too much. So join me back in just a few minutes after we get the lye mixture to the right temperature and the oil to the right temperature. We'll start blending. Okay, here you can see we're adding the lye to the frozen milk, and it's slowly starting to melt it. We want to do it pretty slow and just 4 or 5 batches just to kind of prevent that heat up process and prevent as much caramelization as we can. It will caramelize just a little, but the slower we go, the less caramelization we'll have and the whiter our final product will look. Okay, we have our oil melted, completely melted and cooled back down to the correct temperature. We have our lye, goat milk, honey mixture ready to go in. So I'm going to work first with a wooden spoon to get all the lye incorporated, and then we're going to switch to a hand mixer. You always want to add lye to something, not something to lye to prevent splash. And you can just work more slowly and have a little more control if you add the lye to your fat mixture. So we're going to get started doing that. The reason we're working in the ice bath is to slow down, not prevent, just slow down our gel phase just a little bit to kind of prevent some of the caramelization that you can get and to kind of prevent that grainy texture from happening. This is probably going to saponify pretty quick. Once we reach trace, we are going to add our lemongrass essential oil and about a tablespoon of ground ginger. It's going to have a nice scent, a pretty color, and I think it's going to make a nice soap for us. Goat's milk soap is always a good seller on our Facebook page and the farmers markets. There's a lot of health benefits to using goat's milk soap, and this milk is from our Oberhaslis that we raise here on our farm. It is another good source of income, another way to utilize your milk, especially if you live in those states that prohibit raw goat milk sales, either through herd shares or just in general. So this is a good way to utilize your goat milk. It makes a nice beauty product. It's one of the only soaps that we have actually used for several years. So I'm going to go ahead and get this rinsed out. One nice thing about making soap at home, your sinks stay really clean from all that lye water going down. Stir starting to thicken up nicely. We just want to make sure that we reach true trace before we add our essential oil and our ginger. We're not going to be adding any colorant to this soap. We are going to pour it in our block mold and then hand cut it. The only decoration it will have, since we're not going to color it, it's got a beautiful color anyway, is some dried lemongrass-ginger tea. That'll make a nice decoration on top. Other than that, that's all we're doing to this soap. Wanted to show you we are starting to reach trace. One way you can tell is the soap residue that's up on the side will start to solidify. So this is the point that if I were going to add colorant or do multiple colors in a swirl, drop swirl, something like that, I would go ahead and start separating. But since we're not going to do that today, all we're going to do at this point is add our essential oil and our ginger. I've been stirring with the stick blender, maybe 5 minutes. And if you've ever made cold processed soap without a stick blender, you know that reaching this stage can take 20 to 30 minutes depending on your conditions outside. There we go. Making soap is very much dependent on the weather around you. Barometric pressure, humidity, ambient air temperature, humidity, things like that can affect how quickly your soap reaches saponification. We're actually going to go ahead and use all of this. We want the soap to be nicely scented, so it's going to end up being about an ounce because this is about half full. So we're going to go ahead and add that. We're also going to add a tablespoon or so of actual ginger powder, maybe a little less. You do want to be a little cautious with ginger. It can be a skin irritant if you're not used to it. So a little less than a tablespoon. Okay, we'll get this blended up and ready for our mold. I wish we had smell-o-vision because this smells wonderful, very springy. I'm excited to be able to offer this maybe the first to middle of March for our Easter soap lineup. All right, we're just going to use today a silicone mold. One, and let's get some of this pretty lemongrass and ginger dried tea put on the top just for some nice decoration. Some people don't like anything on their soap, so we make plain goat meal soap. We call it goat meal because it's goat milk and oatmeal and honey. That's the base soap for most of our milled soaps that we do, and we do a lot of milled soaps for those scents and colorants and additives that kind of dissolve in the saponification process. So we'll do that. We'll make a video on that one day. But this is going to be our lemongrass-ginger soap. Tomorrow we will video hand cutting this. I'm going to go ahead and get this in the fridge. Okay, welcome back to our soap making session. Our lemongrass-ginger goat milk soap has been curing in the fridge for about 48 hours. I usually leave it about 24, but got busy yesterday and didn't have time to get to it. So we're going to unmold it today and cut it. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can cut your soaps. It's really just personal preference. I like these silicone molds. Okay, so there we have our silicone mold out of the wooden box. We're just going to kind of pull the edges to loosen it up and then flip it over. And peel it out. That's why I like these silicone molds. They are very flexible and make manipulating your soap in and out of your mold very easy. All right, so we did lose some of our pretty decoration on top, but that's okay. Now, like I said, there's a couple of ways you can cut your soap. Well, there's many ways you can cut your soap, but one is with a wavy knife. It will cut your bar so that it has this rippled effect. I like that kind of bar. It kind of, when it's wet in the shower or whatever on the sink, it kind of like sits pretty good. You can also just cut it straight like this. It's really just up to you. I'm going to cut this straight this time, and I like to make my bars as close to the same size as I can. And I have found that about a 1-inch bar is pretty good. You can do 1 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch. It is entirely up to you. So what I do is I just go along and kind of score every inch to begin with. Now remember, it's hand cut soap, so it's not going to be perfect. That eclectic look is what lets people know that it's hand poured, hand cut, not factory made. You want your soap to be unique. So we're just going to do this all along the top. Okay. Hey. In 4 to 6 weeks, we'll keep checking the pH and the dryness of them. And in 4 to 6 weeks, we'll get these packaged up, ready to sell. Just another way to utilize all that beautiful goat's milk that you have on your farm. If you've never made homemade soap, this is a very simple recipe. I will put a description at the end of the video. This one is simply 3 pounds of a good quality vegetable shortening, 6 ounces of lye, and 8 ounces of liquid. We did use goat's milk, and we did freeze it beforehand just to keep it from caramelizing as the lye heated it up. So, thanks for watching. I hope you have enjoyed making soap on the farm with us. Stay tuned as we replenish our stock of soaps. We have quite a few scents that we do throughout the year. We have basic scents that we do, but again, just simple, quick, easy recipe for a homemade soap, good for your skin, fun to make, and a good way to make some extra money on the farm. Hope that you will, if you haven't done so already, will like and subscribe to our channel. We sure do enjoy putting these videos out for you, and that really encourages us to keep going and keep doing what we're doing. And thanks, have a blessed day, and happy soap making.